space, they started identifying it about 4 or 5 years ago when they started releasing their MDR market guide. There is no magic quadrant for what we do, but this market guide is something that Gartner has used to name us, Proficio, as a key player in the last 4 consecutive years. So we are a Gartner recognized key player in the market. And as such, the managed detection and response space is expected to grow to having 50% of all organizations globally leveraging an MDR service just like ours within the next 5 years. So we've been doing this for the last 10 years. We've been recognized by Gartner for the last 5 years. And in the next 5 years, this space is going to absolutely explode. So unpacking managed detection and response just a little bit here is the idea behind this is actually, for if you ask me personally, I would call it DMR, detection, manage, and response, because the detection component is really the core that everything else bolts onto. And so for us, that's 3 security operations centers in a follow the sun model. So we've got one in a security operations center at our headquarters in Carlsbad in San Diego. We have another one in Barcelona, Spain, and we've got our last one in Singapore. And in addition to those 3 security operations centers, we have regional centers all across the globe. We have another office in New York, North Carolina. Chris is obviously in the UK. We've got another office in Australia. So very, dispersed throughout the globe to be able to service our customers in those spaces in their time and space. You're not going to have somebody, we're not going to have a customer in Los Angeles that's dealing with somebody in India or somebody in the Philippines, right? We're going to have direct connection from somebody in Southern California working with them. And it's the same thing in Europe. We're going to have somebody in their time and space. I previously actually worked in Switzerland for a couple years, and so I know, Eurorail. I know the interconnectivity. Yeah. No, it was actually right on the border of Milan. So I spoke more Italian than I did the Swiss German. I've got enough just to make me not even close to dangerous. My German is so bad. I won't embarrass myself, but I know that Europe is a bit unique in that space because time and space doesn't mean that it has to be somebody specifically sitting across the street from Chris in London, right? It can be somebody that is in a bordering country or somebody near there. So we're growing that operation, we're growing that business. Spain, Barcelona being the central hub of that, but really working our way outward from there. And so that's the where we're starting from a business perspective. A little bit of what we do, again, detection capabilities with security operations centers. The management piece bolts onto that, whether we're managing a customer SIM, if that's going to be Splunk or ArcSight or Elastic. There's a lot of platforms out there that we have in-house capability to manage for the customer to make sure that they're getting the most value out of that platform. We can also do typical MSSP type of management capabilities, managing firewalls, security infrastructure, things like that. And then just really fast forward and speed through this because I want to hit my 5-minute mark is the response capabilities. And the response piece for us starts with SOAR. It starts with automation and orchestration, system to system based activities or actions based on what we're seeing in our big data platform. So if we're hosting the technology for our detection capabilities, what we call ProSoc, we have an entire technology stack that helps us to identify indicators of attack, indicators of compromise, bad actors, and to do that threat discovery. Based on that data, we can have a system put a block in place or orchestrate an action based on some malicious activity that we're seeing. On top of that, we've got capabilities at the endpoint using best in breed technologies like Carbon Black, CrowdStrike, all of those big named endpoint solutions, really top of their class. We can manage those, we can monitor those, and we can take responsive action on those platforms. I'm going to stop there because I just covered, I think, about 100 kilometers of information there. You like the kilometers reference there? I didn't say miles. Very good. So I'm going to stop talking there and just pass it back to you, Andreas, and just, you know, see what are your thoughts on the space? What are you seeing from your perspective, and is any of this clicking?
Yeah, cool. Thanks a lot. It was very, very interesting. Yeah, yeah, where we are and what the status is, and maybe some words to Acmeo, Infinigate, etc. So Infinigate, we are now close to 25 years on the market. We are founded in Switzerland and in Germany, and over the years we took some or did some acquisitions in the Nordics. So our current region now in Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Finland. Then we acquired in UK a company. It was Vigil Software, so that's Infinigate UK. Meanwhile, we did an asset deal with ITway in France, so that's Infinigate France now. The DACH region was the region where the company was originally founded. And in 2015 we acquired a company in Netherlands. So this is with a subsidiary in Belgium. So that's Infinigate Benelux meanwhile. And our last acquisition was Acmeo, where Stefan is in, and it was more or less, let me say, for us as a distributor, a kind of technology acquisition. Means, so a lot of our vendors, so you mentioned some logos like Splunk and CrowdStrike, etc. So we are acting since these years as a value-added distributor for IT security, infrastructure, and secure networking. So if you have a look on our website in Germany, you will see the typical, let me say, IT security products like Checkpoint and Gemalto and Sophos and Barracuda and McAfee and all these guys. So we are our main differentiator is that we only doing security distribution, so we don't sell storage, virtualization, or UCC things or whatever. So that gives us a very clear profile in the markets where we are in. And Acmeo was an acquisition, and it was more or less a coincidence that it was a German company, could be also a UK company or a Spain company. It was important for us to acquire a distributor. Yeah, we call it more or less cloud-born. So Acmeo never did the typical hardware license distribution business. They started their business with, so their main product, and they started their business 12 years ago with SolarWinds. So format, it was Hound Dog, then they get acquired from GFI, and then they acquired it from SolarWinds. So it's the SolarWinds MSP business, the typical RMM business, what is more or less for a, let me say, a typical smaller MSP is the beginning or the heart of his MSSP offering. And it was important for us to acquire that kind of knowledge, also with their software systems, their customer portals, the middleware, all these kind of things. What beside the solution, what is important for an MSSP when we came to the point that in Europe, or bring it down to the German market, there are some MSSPs outside. They started their business as MSSPs, but the main number of MSSPs are coming typically from the system integrator side. So they started their business, name it system integrator, VAR, or whatever you want to say it. But and over the last, let me say, 4 years, they recognized, okay, managed service is becoming more and more important, and they, let me say, kept their typical system integrator business, but they also try to build up, let me say, their MSSP business. And MSSP, you know this better than I, but you know that is you're selling services, not boxes or products or licenses. So it's a total different business. And the Acmeo mission is that they really supported these kind of partners in every, let me say, stage of build up their MSSP business. They, of course, give them the advice about the right platform products, like the right RMM solution, managed backup, managed whatever the solution as itself is. And then they give a lot of business consulting and a lot of support how to organize your business as a new, let me say, MSSP, about the, you mentioned it also, about the automation, automatic invoicing things, about ticket handling, about the compensation models of your sales reps, because it's totally different, and so on and so on. So they do a lot of business consulting. And on the other hand, they developed a middleware, so it's called Acmeo Importer, and all the products they are selling are more or less consumption based. So that means that the MSP is able to, let me say, roll out the product, for example, 500 licenses, Sophos endpoint by a customer. And then all these things are consumption based, means that at the end of the day, out of the Sophos or the McAfee or the Gemalto portal, the tenant of the MSP generates a consumption report. This is imported in our importer system, in that kind of middleware. And the intelligence in the middleware is that the MSP can decide in which format he wants to have his whatever monthly invoicing, consolidated to one end customer or by solution or by whatever he wants to do, and whatever the easiest format is for him to work with. And so that's so the whole picture. So Acmeo is more or less the, let me say, MSP competence center within Infinigate, and our job is now to bring that Acmeo model into, let me say, the different countries like UK, France, Nordics, etc. Now come back to the security story. So the security competence, and that's the other side. The security competence also in the MSP space is located by Infinigate. So we established our own MSSP business unit, for example, here in Germany, with the behavior of Acmeo, with all these software systems, portals, etc. But we are implementing our vendors, like, as I mentioned, McAfee, Sophos, Barracuda, etc., into that MSP model, but with our security experience. And that was the reason why Stefan handed it over to me, because Acmeo is more or less, their approach is a one-stop shopping company for mid-market MSPs. They are selling these RMM tools, they are selling UCC, they are selling managed backup, etc. But when it comes to the point of IT security, Infinigate is in the driver's seat.
Yeah.
And come a bit back to numbers and size of business. So since 4 years, we are forcing that MSSP security business within Infinigate. So as an example, Germany, just to give you some numbers and where we are. So we, at the moment, with our, let me say, security products like managed firewall, endpoint, authentication, you name it, we have in Germany around 500 MSPs under contract, means 500 MSPs, security, managed security service providers, are in our program, and they are in our monthly invoicing model. And I would say 25% of them, they have on their roadmap, or the initial situation is that they feeling the demand, and they have the understanding that they have all these security, let me say, silo products in place by their customers. They have endpoint security, they have firewall, they have whatever, mail security, web security, proxy, you name it. But at the end of the day, there is the logical next step to bring them as an MSSP and their end customers to the next level of IT security, means incidents detection and response, with all the things they are coming across with that words. They are looking to implement the next, let me say, step for their customers into their service portfolio. the typical sweet spot, what we are aiming to is the MSSPs. Typically, they have a size between, I would say, 50 and 250 employees, the MSSP.
Yep.
And they are doing typically business with end customers between 100, 200, up to 2,500 seats. So that's our sweet spot. That's our target customer base. And what we are looking for at the moment is a managed detection and response platform or a provider that delivers all the typical, let me say, security monitoring, threat intelligence, etc. All the things you mentioned on your website in a partner program. They are selling their solution via a partner program, via a partner model. And let me say, the challenge is for us at the moment to find the right, let me say, co-management or cooperation model between, as you mentioned, the chain between your company, for example, us as a distributor, and so we are not planned to be part of the management or the operation model, but our part is to, let me say, acquire and onboarding the MSSPs, that they are up and running and that they have the right knowledge to use that platform, to have the right knowledge to onboard partners, to, let me say, give them the right advice in terms of all the organizational things became, at the end of the day, the response readiness, when you want to say these words. And yeah, that's the point where we are at the moment.
So can I just for clarity, Andreas, just so I'm clear, you currently have about 500 MSP providers that you work with, and those MSP providers, they provide a service to the end user clients, whereas they would potentially manage their checkpoints or their Palo Altos or whatever the security estate is. And they don't provide the managed and detection and response service. It's literally probably a natural pinging and polling of the service to let them know if that device is up or down. And you're kind of looking to present another layer. I'll move my hands up so you can see it in the camera. Another layer that sits on top of those services that the 500 MSPs have.
That's correct.
And how would you present that? Would that be presented as this is a service provided by Infinigate, powered by Proficio, or is it something you might like white labeled, or is it just a resell on top to make it easier for your providers to say, listen, we sell you this as a managed service for your infrastructure, and this is the complexity of managed detection and response on top? Yeah,
that's a model. So this is what we are looking for. So and you mentioned some reports from Gartner or the in the US, so the MSSP top 250 report and etc. That's exactly what we are looking for. So because it's hard for that MSSPs to, let me say, to evaluate the right, let me say, provider for them or the right solution set for them, because you have to cover all these technical things. It have to have a certain fit around all these existing solutions when it comes to the technical sides, like how I can collect the logs from my firewalls and the endpoints and these and that. And on the other hand, the commercial aspects, sometimes it's hard for them to do that evaluation. So it's much easier for us with our distribution experience. How, let me say, how channel committed is that vendor? Because the bad thing is if you are in competition with your own vendor as a, let me say, MSP or reseller, or all these kind of stuff. How are the contracts designed? The pricing point, is it a white label pricing model or is it whatever? And this is, let me say, more or less our job to, because for most of them, not for all, but for most of them, we are, I would say, a kind of trusted advisor. So we have around 20 of that partners. That's our partner inner circle. We discuss a lot of things with them, even things we are not having signed already.
Yep.
To discuss, is that an interesting solution, or could this fit in your portfolio? Because when I got the feedback from 20 partners and 18 are saying, hey, come on, let's that's not interesting for me. So that's more or less representative for our partner space in general. But exactly what you said. So this is what we are looking for. Our, let me say, our part in that, let me say, value chain is to recruit that partners, enable that kind of partners. We are not the pros in threat intelligence or in threat detection or whatever. Of course, we have some professional services. Professional service in our terms is that we are implementing whatever, a checkpoint, a Barracuda, whatever, firewalls in the name of the reseller by the end customer, because he has a lack of resources or it's a new solution for him, and we are shadowing him in the first 2 or 3 projects when he decides to start to sell a kind of solution. We have some direct support models when resellers are selling products they are not familiar with, so that we are taking place for the support for the end customer, and to guarantee that the end customer gets the best support as possible. We have some service models where we are helping resellers in terms of migration, change management, etc. on the products we can deliver that kind of services, and from a go-to-market perspective, I would say in our eyes, and we had a lot of interviews with our partners meanwhile, the perfect world for me would be that we generate, let me say, a brand. It's called maybe Infinigate MDR or IMDR or whatever, but to have really the clear transparency with an let me say, a combined or a common logo powered by whatever the name is.
Yeah.
Because these kind of transparency with our partners, of course, and it's should be not a secret, whatever. But I'm absolutely convinced because when it comes to a point, just an example. So one of our partners we're selling, or we have in our normal portfolio, is for example, is Rapid7. So
yes, know them very well.
They developing a lot of services meanwhile, and they come from that vulnerability scanning thing. They have meanwhile a security SIEM component, etc. But we and the partners also, we are absolutely convinced that when you came across with, let me say, a brand who is recognized as a security product vendor, same to whatever, you name it, Kaspersky or Sophos, or they all have their managed or their EDR solutions meanwhile with a kind of service on top on it. You always have these product brand in your mind.
Yeah.
And a lot of customers saying, or McAfee, of course, you can do it with McAfee also.
McAfee do everything.
That's that's right. And they have let me say, they have a brand. So we have a lot of McAfee customers. They are total McAfee shops. They have everything for McAfee. But there are a lot of other customers outside. They say, hey, come on, never ever I will do this with McAfee, etc. So as I said, so we started our evaluation, I would say, 2 months ago, that because and the time point to get in touch now is perfect. So it's nothing is decided, etc. But we are started 2 months ago. We are now in a technical evaluation with three companies. Maybe you know them. So it's the Open Systems. So it's a Swiss company, but they are also in the US, etc. Elementrix.
Okay.
And Arctic Wolf. So these are the 3 companies we are let me say in the next step. So we did the first technical presentations. Now the next step will be that we get access to their demo systems to do a kind of a POC, also with some partners. We now the next 2-3 weeks, I try to check all these commercial aspects and things. And this is the status to be absolutely open and transparent where we are at the moment.
Well, I mean, I have to thank you straight away just for being so upfront in regard to not only where you are, but in regard to the people that you're talking to. And then there must still be an element of interest and appetite for Proficio. Otherwise, I don't think you'd have this call. So I think my question is you have 3 in the system and 3 in the evaluation process that you've been looking at for the last sort of 2 to 3 months. What do I need to do, and what do Proficio need to do to try and get us into that mix of companies you're having a discussion with? Because that's where that's obviously the next step for us. And you know, and Brian, you know, we're both willing to do as much as we can to help you. What would be that next step?
Yeah. So one thing is, Brian mentioned it, your data center in Europe. So that's an absolute important point. You know this, especially for the customers in the DACH region, but also for other European companies. So the open systems, yes, it's a Swiss company. That's not a topic, but with Elementrix and also with Arctic Wolf, maybe you know this. With both companies, it's not clear if they are doing that step in that time frame what we are looking for to into Europe.
What's the time frame that you have, Andreas?
The time frame is or the timeline or time planning is, so our fiscal year is beginning 1st of April.
Right. Okay.
So that's the, let me say, points of 1st of March, 1st of April 21. So we have, so it's during 6 months now.
Yep.
Left, but that's let me say all the activities and everything is fitted to that, let me say, launch date that we want to decide now in the next, let me say, 4-6 weeks. What should our partner or what could our partner be? Then we have to design all these contract things, etc. But everything is fitted to that launch point, 1st of March or 1st of April.
Andreas, I appreciate you expanding on that a little bit. And just, you know, like I said, I kind of gave you the 4-minute sprint of who we are and what we do. But earlier I had mentioned that we've got 3 security operations centers that are follow the sun model. You know, and to your point, just to double back on what you just said, we do have data residency in Europe. I believe our data centers, actually, I know we have data centers in Madrid and Barcelona. We also use AWS Cloud with a presence in Germany.
It's in Germany.
And our security operations center in Barcelona is able to provide Barcelona only monitoring. So not only can we keep the data in Europe, we can also keep the monitoring in Europe as well. So you're not going to have eyes on glass from Singapore to the US. So it can be a completely, and we have, obviously we're incorporated in London and in Barcelona. We've got, you know, like an actual, you know, business presence in those locations. So we essentially have a full standalone European business that can be essentially completely separate from the US and Singapore and the other countries we're in. And that's already done. So there's no development that we need to do. There's nothing we need to build. It's already there. So just to be clear on that and our capabilities in that space.
Yeah, and that's the point, because the let me say the connection, for example, to Arctic Wolf, we started this in the last RSA, as it happens, in 2018. So we met these guys then. So the idea for that project, so we started. Maybe you know a company. It's called Radar Services in Austria, in Vienna.
Yeah.
Maybe you heard about. So they are also in that top 250 MSSP report, etc. And the point. So we had one project with them. It's close to 2.5 years. It was beginning 2018, and but they only selling their, let me say, SOC platform for enterprise customers like BMW and Rolls-Royce, etc. And at that point, it was in March 2018. They talked to us about their idea of they called it smart solution. So it was a managed SOC solution. But then the company get acquired and the development stopped, etc. And as it is, so maybe at this point, we at these times, we were in a very early stage about that idea at a channel conform managed SOC solution via a two-tier model, and a lot of partners getting interested. But I think the market would be not mature enough about this. And then we had a lot of, as it is in business, you have a lot of tons of other tasks on your desk, etc. But we always had in mind that idea, and I think now it's the right time, because our MSSP business is, I would say, mature enough. The installed base in terms of these 500 MSPs with security focus is big enough. There are a lot of companies they started last year with managed firewall, managed this and that.
Yeah.
I think that are not the sweet spot or the low-hanging fruits for a kind of an MDR solution or managed SOC or how you name it. But as I said, I would say 15 up to 20%, and that's a potential of 100 existing MSPs. They are doing security managed service business. We can address. They know us very well. We can open these doors, and what we only know or we only need. The right offering for them, exactly in a complex space, but because that's I think that's when you read all these marketing materials of a lot of these MDR and managed SOC vendors, etc. Everything sounds so easy, so plug and play. So
well. I mean, Andreas, you know as well as I do that the McAfee's, the Checkpoints, the Palo Altos, the big names in the industry, as soon as a new technology or solution comes to market, all of a sudden they're able to do that, and they've got a module or a software update that does that. But that is not their core competency. That's not what they have built their business around. So I've kind of seen it in that seat for a number of years. Okay, it's really interesting. Really interesting. Just can I ask, in regard to your 500 MSPs that you have and 25% doing security services, etc., does Infinigate provide those resellers that you work with? Do you provide them with consultancy services?
Yes.
You do.
So what do you mean with consultancy services?
So would you turn around to any of your bars and resellers and say, I can provide a consultant who can go on site and do some vulnerability assessments, some penetration testing, or give you some guidance in regard to compliancy? Because those are the types of conversation that will lead on to a customer kind of having that recommendation that actually I think you need to have a SIM platform put in place, or actually you need the management of your firewall of infrastructure in place, or maybe as an organization that's think about a SOC as a service for you. It's that kind of conversation that leads on to us.
Yeah, of course. So that consulting service, so we do as I said, so professional services, that installation things, consulting services. So since 2 years, we established on a platform everything around security awareness. So that's an upcoming market also, where we are driving security awareness campaigns like simulated phishing things and these and that, in behalf of the partner to the end customer, because that's some partners are now entering in that space, and also security audits and security pen testings. So that is what we are doing in that consultancy space. And as I said, so many of that MSSPs, as I said, these 20-25%, they have that readiness to do the next step in terms of selling their end customers a SIEM or a log correlation thing. Some of them sold this already, so they have that understanding. But what very important is, and what I believe is why the market getting now in that, let me say, space, that these, let me say, services are getting in a position that they are getting more channel ready, is the let me say, the technical development of that. Because we in terms of that managed detection things, threat intelligence things, etc., because we saw so many SIEM projects in mid-market customers, even with 1,000 or 1,500 IT seats, they failed because it was always the lack of the operation and the management of that solution. It's quick. It's a quick to sell this and, let me say, implement this in a common way. That's one thing, but we saw that the skills and the resources, etc., that most of that, let me say, end customers, they started such products, they underestimated the effort, what it means to operate such a system in a good way. And I think when I understood it right now, with your as a company or the other ones also, there was just let me say, from that services, that next step was done in the last 1 or 2 years. When you have a look 3 or 4 years ago, that kind of solutions was not on the market. Meanwhile.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, so I'm conscious of time. What would you like as the next steps? From my perspective, I want to be in your 3 people you're evaluating, which means you're going to need to get rid of one of them. So if we could ditch Arctic Wolf straight away, that would be very good. What's the engagement and the process, and who do you want to touch point, and what would you need to get us into this set of conversations?
Yes, and as I said, so that SOC and monitoring capabilities in Europe, so that's a key point for us, and this was really the point where I said, okay, come on to Stefan, we should talk to them. And so we have our technical evaluation team consists of our technical leader here in Germany and one other guy and 2 guys in our UK organization. And let me say, for the first step, it would be great if we can agree on a maybe 1.5 hour technical session to get an impression about the, let me say, the architecture of your of the system, the capabilities, the features, how the model is, how you work with partners, where are the, let me say, the points where a partner can be involved, or what your full service model is, etc. I would say that would be the first step, to have a technical conversation with these 4 guys, to give them the first impression about your system. The big plus point from a commercial perspective is that capability in Europe. So that's to be very honest on that point. And in parallel, or let me say, after that technical session, maybe Chris, we can go. We can have a first look on the commercial perspectives. How is it around the licensing things, etc. And as I said, so nothing is decided. So that was our starting point, and we plan that thing to the first, or the launch to the first of April. Even if it is 1 month later, okay, then it is 1 month later. So important for us is to do it in the right way.
Okay. Well, I mean, from a technical evaluation perspective, I mean, that is most certainly something we can do whenever you can get your 4 guys together. I mean, I'm all, like I say, I've got the guys in the US, I've got the guys in Europe that we can pitch and put in front of you. So, I mean, if you could suggest a date, I will make sure that the calendars from a Proficio perspective, that they're covered and that they're freed up. So we can do that at any time that you want. Understanding that we're now on Thursday, Friday tomorrow, so any time next week is great.
Yeah. So I have a sure fix with Christian, so our technical leader, tomorrow, and he will send you some 2 or 3 proposals during next week.
Good.
So that's yeah,
Right,
would be great. Would be great. So because as I said, so I spent maybe a half an hour on your websites and around some research things, and yeah, it sounds interesting. I think there is a certain fit.
Good.
That's
good to hear.
What you're providing.
Can I ask? So just from your review and your looking on the website, is there anything that you kind of think which is a barrier, a blocker, or raises a question mark with you that you were like, do they provide this service, or how did it? Was there anything that made you see a negative with ourselves?
No, nothing negative from that. Let me say website research from that point of view. The other thing is, of course, we have to talk about your go-to-market model, your let me say channel behavior and this kind of stuff, but not from, let me say, from that perspective that I say, okay, there is anything on the website. I would say that's a showstopper or whatever.
Good. So, I mean, just to sort of lay out, I mean, my whole approach from the European market is we talk direct. Potentially, we have a selling process direct, but we do not procure direct. The very best people to be selling a Proficio service is potentially a Proficio person, but we do not want to be seen. I've been in the industry and the channel too long to see this happen with other vendors, and basically, it's like dropping a bomb on the industry all of a sudden if you start selling direct. So we're naturally hunting, we're naturally looking, having conversations, but we want to try and create almost like a very exclusive bubble. And I know the bubble's the word for the pandemic at the moment, but in regard to an exclusive distributor with a set of exclusive partners below that. And anything that comes across the table that I know we're engaged with, I want to walk out and put it in the hands of a partner and say, we're working on this. We want to work with you to start. It helps you get educated. It helps to get you trained up in regard to how we sell and what we sell. And I want to keep it quite closed and within that bubble. But no, I don't want to do anything direct. I've been hit there before, and it's never going to happen while certain things are under my watch.
Okay, good to hear. Good to hear. Makes sense.
Absolutely. So Brian, I kind of gave you 5 minutes at the beginning. I might give you 5 minutes at the end. Is there anything you want to ask of Andreas, or anything that you think we just want to sort of outline before we go away, then get ourselves set up for an 1.5-hour session next week?
Yeah, I appreciate that, Andreas. It's exciting. First of all, let me just say it's exciting on our side. Anytime we talk to an organization such as yourself on the ground floor of anything, nobody wants to be the last guy to the party. And so I appreciate that we're having this conversation now and that we're able to work through this. It sounds to me like first impressions are that this is a pretty good fit. And I would just say as Chris teed this up around service capabilities in our next discussion in a technical deep dive, what are you looking for in terms of partner capabilities and go-to-market strategy? And what else are you looking for so that I can tee that up in our next conversation from a partner and a sales strategy perspective?
Oh, sorry, was this a question or?
Yeah, so you had mentioned that in our next call that you want to have a technical deep dive about our services. On the partner, the distribution model and go to market. What are you looking for specifically that I can prepare for that conversation? Because that's a big question.
Yeah. So I prepared a kind of, let me say, checklist on that. What is important for us from that, let me say, commercial perspective. So as I said, so we have some ideas about the branding of that service, how we can go to the market, how to use, let me say, our recognition in our partner space to bring things forward as fast as we can. And as I said, so there is a different type of partners outside, very, let me say, experienced partners. As I said, they are already sold SIEM systems, etc. There are partners to bring them in that position. It's more long run, maybe. And this is, I would say, what we are looking for beside the, let me say, the technical capabilities. A company, they have a certain experience how to, let me say, do in that business, how to do business with partners. Because I think it's a young market. It's a market in an early stage. We all, I would say, have the next 1-2 years to have learned a lot about this. How is the right way to onboard a partner, to train a partner, to bring them in the position to sell such a solution. They will have also some learnings about the right end customers on that, and this is what we are looking for: a partner that is able and willing to, let me say, develop that market together with us in our customer base.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, Chris. I think that's it for me. I've got a pretty good understanding from the commercial standpoint of what we can discuss on our next call, and obviously the technical and service deep dive is a really straightforward conversation for us. So that's it for me, Andreas. I really appreciate your time. I'm amazed, again that you would give us an hour, and I deeply appreciate that. And this is honestly a very encouraging, very exciting conversation for me as we continue to grow and develop our EMEA presence and our business model over there. This is really along the lines of what we're already doing and planning and things that we've already put in place in the structure and organization that we've been building. So I do appreciate that. So yeah, that's it. I'll stick to brevity.
Cool. Thanks a lot also for your time. And
thank you, Andreas. It's good. I'm not going to keep you any longer because it's 6 o'clock your time now. So that's family time.
That's okay. That's okay. No worries about that.
No, very good. So listen, I appreciate your time. I mean, if you could come back to me and just provide me with the contact who can give me some dates from our perspective, we'll get that all set up. And then in parallel to that and in tandem, I'll push some dates, maybe your time following that conversation in regard to us having a bit more of a commercial and partner discussion. But in the meantime, if there is anything you'd like to ask or you'd like to see from a product portfolio or commercial perspective, please don't hesitate. Reach out to me and ask, and I'm more than happy to jump on a call at any time with you.
Cool. Thanks a lot. Will do.
Lovely.
Okay.
Thank you, gents. Enjoy your day.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.